Karen's obsession with controlling my property reached a new level of absurdity the day she decided to block my driveway. It wasn't just any driveway. It was the main entrance to the ranch, the only access point for deliveries, emergency vehicles, and family visits. Yet Karen, fueled by her incessant need to assert HOA dominance, thought it perfectly reasonable to park her luxury SUV squarely across it, smirking as though she had somehow gained power over me. Brent and Donut were with her, of course, documenting the stunt on their phones, clearly expecting me to panic or comply. I, however, was already monitoring the situation from my office, every gate, sensor, and camera feeding live footage to my tablet. Titan, my K9 Guardian, padded silently along the perimeter, alert to the intruder's every move. Karen strutted toward the locked SUV, waving her clipboard and declaring victory, oblivious to the fact that I had anticipated this very stunt for months. With a calm tap on my tablet, I activated the first phase of my countermeasures. Motion-activated bollards rose from the ground, preventing any further vehicles from entering the property, while floodlights and sprinklers drenched the trio in a sudden arc of cold water. Karen screamed in frustration, trying to wave her arms at Titan, who circled silently, growling low and precisely enough to make her rethink her position. Brent tried to climb onto the SUV hood to reclaim control, only to slip on the wet metal and tumble to the ground in a spectacular heap. Donut, panicking, slipped in the mud, landing face-first near the edge of the driveway while Karen tried to rescue him, only to be sprayed again by the automated sprinklers. Realizing that direct confrontation wasn't working, Karen reached for her phone to call for backup, but the property's security jammer blocked all incoming and outgoing signals, leaving her stranded, frustrated, and soaked. By this point, I had activated the final stage of the plan, a defensive mechanism I had been saving for extreme cases, the armored tank station discreetly in my garage. Calmly, I rolled the tank onto the driveway, lining it up precisely with Karen's SUV. The massive vehicle cast a shadow over the SUV, its treads crushing the soft ground slightly, making it impossible for Karen to move the car. I activated the tank's automated arm, which nudged the SUV gently but decisively, shifting it just enough to clear the driveway without causing damage. Legally perfect and humiliatingly effective. Karen's face turned red with rage as she realized that her grand gesture had been completely nullified, and the entire operation had been executed remotely without her even noticing. The sheriff, who had been monitoring the live feed, arrived within minutes, witnessing Karen drenched, humiliated, and defeated, while Brent lay tangled in mud and Donut whimpered in a corner. They were issued multiple citations for trespassing, obstruction, and harassment. I disembarked from the tank, Titan at my side, walking past the immobilized SUV toward the driveway, inspecting the property and ensuring everything was intact. Karen tried one last time to assert her authority, pointing at the SUV and yelling about community rules. But the sheriff calmly reminded her that any interference with private property was illegal, and the armored tank incident, completely within my rights, was the perfect example of lawful defense. By the time the chaos settled, Karen, Brent, and Donut were soaked, humiliated, and escorted off the property, leaving behind a trail of mud, toppled cones, and ruined egos. I returned to the porch with Titan, sipping coffee as the sun reflected off the lake, knowing full well that the ranch, its driveway, and my authority were untouchable. Karen had learned, once again, that any attempt to obstruct, intimidate, or assert power over my property would be met with meticulous planning, overwhelming measures, and public humiliation. A lesson reinforced by the dramatic display of logic, technology, and brute force that left her utterly defeated. The driveway was clear, the tank returned to its garage, and the property was secure, leaving me with a quiet satisfaction in Titan's approving bark echoing across the fields, a reminder that my land and authority were absolute.